Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, everybody. I'm Kate Magdziuk. You could follow me on Twitter at FFBallBlast. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Marcus Mosher. You could follow him on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher, and apparently at Marcus Needs a Tissue at Kleenex.com.
Yeah, please sponsor us, Kleenex. I've been just battling a cold all week, but like
we'll
a couple of our fantasy players, I'm gonna battle through. Right, I've got a questionable tag on me. Not gonna stop me.
No, we got you, Marcus. We will get you through the show. Everybody, please give the show a follow on Twitter at Locked On Dynasty. Hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, and of course, check out the YouTube channel where we are looking to build our audience there. Hit that subscribe and give us those thumbs up. Help us and help others find the show. We really appreciate it. Lots of lots.
Okay, we should talk about Thursday Night Football. It was a really good game. It was a really, really good game. Was there any big takeaways that you had from that one?
It was a really surprising game. I like the biggest takeaway is that I feel like every single time we see a quarterback, a talented quarterback, maybe without some weapons, we immediately toss them in the garbage and say like, it's a lost week. But it's just a reminder. Don't ever discount Aaron Rodgers. He's just he's a good football player.
He also didn't play all that well. Let's just be honest. He was 22 of 27 for 184 yards. Ben Roethlisberger type of stats there, Kate.
He did not play overly well, just completed like 59% of passes, which is not by any means good for Aaron Rodgers. But I think just the way that offense is structured, the chemistry between A.J. Dillon and like Aaron Jones and watching them go back and forth. I think the biggest takeaway for me is probably A.J. Dillon, because
that's exactly what I was going to talk about.
He looks good. A.J. Dillon, he was I was a big fan of his coming out of college, but the ding has always been like, Aaron Jones got that second contract. Is he going to be able to work himself into the lineup? We saw Jamal Williams depart this season. Even then, we weren't really sure what kind of workload we were going to see, but here we are. In the last 5 weeks, A.J. Dillon's actually seen 11 or more carries in 3 out of those 5 games.
Yeah. That was my biggest takeaway as well. It seems like we are trending towards a pretty split backfield. Now, Aaron Jones is still the guy that's going to be the most productive. And if you played Aaron Jones last night, you feel fantastic. And actually, hold on, I'm going to take that back. You're feeling a little bitter right now because you could have easily had 3 touchdowns last night and you're being greedy. One got taken back on a kind of dumb call. But Aaron Jones still super, super productive. He had 7 receptions, I believe, for 50 yards. Still had 60 yards on the ground. I think it's possible, Kate, long term, maybe not this year, but next year, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves, for this backfield to support 2 running backs.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm like, I think, if you're looking to acquire A.J. Dillon, don't do it the week after he's just displayed his talents in prime time. Maybe wait another week. Hopefully next week he'll get, maybe a limited carry share and send everybody back into the bunker, the A.J. Dillon bunker. But I mean, just like eyeball test, obviously he's not putting up huge fantasy games just due to the limited touches, but the eyeball test, my God, he looks so freaking good. He looks like Derrick Henry light.
Yeah, he really does. He's playing well.
I'm trying to be like, I'm trying not to overreact here, but he looks like Derrick Henry light. And that's what he was coming into the draft.
All right. We've got to do this. We got to do this now. We need to look up some A.J. Dillon trades, because is this the time to buy A.J. Dillon, or do you think it's already gone?
I don't think it's already gone, because of the inconsistencies in workload. Obviously, after seeing him in primetime, like it's hard because everybody watched that game. Usually if somebody has a really nice performance and maybe their stat line doesn't match the eyeball test, like in the 1:00 window, fantastic, because that might fly under the radar. AJ Dillon's probably not flying as far under the radar, but
Can I give
the
you some AJ Dillon
inconsistencies.
traits? Can I give you some
Yes.
recent AJ Dillon trades? And these are all from the last 5 days. Okay. Now, again, that doesn't factor in what we saw on Thursday night, but dynasty owners don't typically overreact too much. So it's all right. Some of these are tough. What about AJ Dillon for Chris Carson straight up?
Oh God. Oh, that's really tough, because in a bubble I'd just say Chris Carson, but with I think it's the worries about the neck injury, which is like most concerning to managers. And I'm not at a place where I understand the extent of Chris Carson's injury. So
I'm probably staying away from that one, right?
yeah, I don't think I'd make that trade if I were on either side, just because. If I have Chris Carson, it's a lot of risk on both sides.
All right, this next one is fascinating to me. It is AJ Dillon for Leonard Fournette straight up.
Oh, AJ Dillon all day.
Ooh. See, I think I'd rather have Fournette. I have more faith that Fournette is going to put together a low-end RB1 season this year than maybe AJ Dillon ever will. I'd rather just have Fournette right now.
Okay. If you're in a rebuild mode, does that change things for you at all? Because if you're in a rebuild mode,
if
and
you're in a
not
rebuild,
going to be contending.
Yes. I'm just assuming we're talking about the typical 4-4 team right now. I'd rather have Fournette, but if you're rebuilding, I think that one makes sense. Let's give you some more, Kate. These are some for player swaps. AJ Dillon for Brandon Cooks.
I'll actually take Brandon Cooks. I think his ability to put up wide receiver 1 numbers, kind of like you said with Leonard Fournette, I think his ceiling's just a little bit higher than we're going to see anytime soon for AJ Dillon.
And who's throwing to Brandon Cooks next week? Not this week. I'm saying next week.
Oh God. I'm just gonna hope it's Tyrod Taylor. They might trade him. He's an angry little man. I don't know if you saw the tweets, guys. As soon as Mark Ingram was headed out,
I don't blame him. Don't blame him.
He's the odd man out here, but he might. Honestly, we were all confused. I think, why didn't the Saints just acquire Brandon Cooks too? Bring back 2 of your old players. And get Jameis Winston another weapon. It would have made a lot of sense, but here we are. And if Tyrod Taylor's throwing him the ball, he's a wide receiver 1.
I agree. He's going to really enjoy catching passes from Patrick Mahomes next week. All right, last one. That would be really nice. Last one. This one's really fun. AJ Dillon in a 2022 first-round pick for Aaron Jones.
Oh, I'm still taking Aaron Jones there.
I think I am too. Aaron Jones is just so rock solid, right? And he's basically a lock to get 17 touches every week in an offense that's going to score consistently 24 or more points every week.
And he's going to get the passing work. Like that's so key.
Yeah. But we're still buying AJ Dillon. Go out and make some trade offers. We want to hear what you guys are trying to get AJ Dillon for over the next week. But let's take a quick break so we can tell you guys about our old friends at McDonald's. We all love McDonald's. This episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family from the community can come together. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. Kate, would you like to do the jingle?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
That's perfect. That's great. All right, we need to talk about McDonald's real quick. I have some fond memories of McDonald's. I love McDonald's breakfast. What's your favorite McDonald's breakfast item?
It's the sausage McGriddle. I've made the sausage McGriddle references here on the show before. I love the sausage McGriddle. There's no better, sweet,
extra
salty.
Salt like Jerry Jones.
No. But oh my gosh, So what I wish is that McDonald's would just sell me a whole like a whole container of those like fluffy cakes that come with the McGriddles, just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the
The buns,
sauce and
basically. Yeah.
yeah, basically the buns and essentially you get to go pancakes whenever you want. I
Oh,
think
they're
that
so
should be
good.
their next venture. They're delicious. They're the perfect way to start the day. And now I'm really hungry, Marcus.
Are you one of those people that puts the hash brown inside of the sausage McGriddle or no?
No, I'm a very plain Jane. I like to keep my items separate. So what I do, I enjoy my hash brown first, and then I have to eat the whole hash brown, and then I save my McGriddle for
Yeah.
last. It's salty sweet. You just cannot beat that
I
flavor
I like
combination.
to go McGriddle first, and then you eat the hash brown as like a little treat at the end, a little palate cleanser. So
Whew,
there you go.
I'm
All right,
hungry.
I could talk about McDonald's breakfast all day, but instead we got to talk about Week 8 and some of the things we're most excited to see this week. Kate, who are you keeping an eye on in the slate of action this week?
Actually, before we move on, one more thought occurred to me that we do need to keep an eye on through the weekend. Robert Tunyon, we haven't heard
Mm,
anything, but he did suffer what looked to be a nasty knee injury at the end of the game. LaFleur came out and he, I didn't see the actual clip, but per Twitter,
it's bad.
reporter said
Yeah,
yeah, reporters said he was getting emotional when talking about Robert Tunyon. So it does sound
yeah,
like this could be something serious.
yeah.
Um,
It's not good.
it's definitely not good. Obviously, Robert Tunyon has not been a reliable fantasy option. But is there any tight end that you would want to grab behind Robert Tunyon there in that offense? If obviously the lack of wide receivers isn't going to be a long term thing, but we did see you know, who who were these players last night? Josiah Degura,
Yeah,
he got a
he's an
couple
H-back they
targets.
drafted in the third round a couple years ago. Mercedes Lewis is not going to be the guy you want. He's really just an extra offensive lineman playing tight end for them at this point. My guess is that Green Bay is going to make a trade to get a tight end because they can't go into the playoffs with this unit here. They got to have somebody who can stretch the field a little bit. And I actually have a name for you, Kate. I think they're going to make a trade. Would you like to hear who I think is going to be traded there?
Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron. Yeah, it makes too much sense, right? Sounds like he's not happy with the targets he's getting in Pittsburgh. It seems like you could have him pretty cheap. I don't think the Steelers are going to hold you up for very much on that one. I think
No.
they're going to make a move like that over the next couple days.
All right. I'm so glad we are clearly getting on the same brainwave
Yeah,
here, Marcus.
yeah, we're good.
We're making this work.
We deserve
Um,
a sausage McMuffin after or McGriddle after this.
yes, as soon as the show is over, I'm going to be running to our local McDonald's here.
I'm just so glad
Oh,
McDonald's sponsors us. This is so awesome.
yeah,
All right,
that's really cool.
let's let's talk about some of the action this week. No, maybe Dak Prescott on Monday or Sunday Night Football. Seems like his status is a little bit up in the air. Does that affect how you're playing Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard? What do you think?
I think all of these players are so like their upside is so high. The talent is so high. It's not just like they're getting targets because they're on the field. They're getting targets because they're tremendously talented football players. I think the ceiling's so high for all these guys. I'm not going to sit any of them regardless of the quarterback. I just can you imagine sitting CeeDee Lamb?
Well,
I
I
like
can if you're having to break ties, right? Like if I don't know, I'm going to give you an example. Like if you
I
have the
can't
debate.
imagine a player that would be low enough or that would be high enough in your roster that you would sit CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, if you okay, or Amari Cooper, right? Let's say it's I don't know Deonte Johnson or Amari Cooper, and you're deciding
You
between
should be
which one you
starting
want to play.
Deonte Johnson every single week,
Okay,
folks.
I
He's an
agree with
every
you.
week. He is an every week must start. Do
That was
not listen
an
to this
example.
man. This
That
is
was an
slander.
example, right? Okay, if it's Mike Williams or CeeDee Lamb, I mean, obviously you're playing Mike Williams as well, but you know what I'm saying? I think you're going to break ties against the Cowboy guys because Cooper Rush doesn't offer a lot of upside. I think Ezekiel Elliott will maintain his value for the most part because he's just going to see so many touches. Um, yeah, I don't know, Kate. I think it certainly downgrades those guys. Who else are you looking forward to see this week?
Deonte Johnson. uh,
There you go. It's a Steelers show.
I have to plug my man because I still feel like the general consensus is that he's not an every week must start, but in 4 out of the 5 weeks that he's played, he's had 10 or more targets. Like this dude is bonkers bananas. He plays really good football. On
got one for
the
you.
other, yeah,
I
let
got
me
one
know.
for you. T. Higgins. I'm really curious about T.
Yes,
Higgins. So he's missed some time this year. Do you know how many targets he had against Baltimore, Kate?
I don't.
15. 15 targets
So
against
quiet.
Baltimore. 7 receptions for 62 yards. He's actually seen quite a few targets in his last 4 games. Kate, he's averaging 9.5 targets per game.
He's
I
on pace
think
for 132 for the season.
it's a lot.
That's a
Something
lot of
big.
targets.
I think a big game is coming for T. Higgins. I don't know if it's this week against the Jets. It might be. Their cornerback situation's awful. But I'm keeping an eye on T. Higgins because I do think a big game is coming here soon.
All right, here's I'm looking at an entire offense right now, looking at the New Orleans Saints. I'm actually really interested in Jameis Winston, who I mean, just he is playing super, super well. Just he's playing pretty clean football. When he's got a clean pocket, he's making good decisions. It looks like his eyesight is all in order. The crazy thing is that they just haven't had the passing volume. Like it's been really surprising because I think we thought they'd be unleashing Jameis at some point. He's even been like showing off some legs. He's last week had 40 rushing yards quietly.
Incredible. Yep.
But I mean, Jameis Winston is playing some of the best football of his career, and nobody's talking about him as a buy candidate in Dynasty fantasy football. I think like this is a guy we have to watch right now, and I think this is a guy you have to trade for right now because either he is going to be a long-term viable option for the Saints, or he just earned himself another contract and another chance at a starting gig somewhere else next season. He's on a 1-year deal.
I like that. That's a good call. I got one more, and this one is more where they're using him. It's Jamal Agnew. I know he's not the most exciting player in fantasy because he's a former defensive back playing receiver. But what's more interesting for me, Kate, is where he plays because over the last 2 weeks, he's played a lot in the slot. He actually has 11 receptions for 119 yards and 0 touchdowns, but it's more that Laviska Shenault is not being used there. And that's concerning to me if you're a Shenault owner because I really don't think he's an outside receiver. And we've seen his production kind of drop at, playing more as the X with DJ Chark out. So I'm just curious over the bye week, what did Jacksonville do to kind of fix their passing attack? Are they going to slide Shenault back to the slot? Are they going to keep Agnew there? Are they going to play more Tavon Austin? It's just something
I feel
I'm
like
watching.
they've looked like a better offense in the last couple of weeks. And
I think they have, but I don't think it's great for Chenault's long-term value. Does that make sense?
Oh, I don't either. And that's been the concern with Laviska Shenault is the fact that he is a guy that they use close to the line of scrimmage. He's just not, if he's not playing out of the slot, I think that's just fewer opportunities for those targets.
Yep.
Because then you're really just, banking on can they generate touches for him? And on the outside, I'm not so confident that they will.
All right, let's take one more quick break so I can tell you guys about Built Bar. It's the absolute best tasting protein bar out there. It's hard to even explain it. It's real chocolate with amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste fantastic. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you will get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, Kate, it is time for some promotion commotion, and we need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. We've been just killing this the last couple of weeks with our Dante Pettis call last week, Tavon Austin a couple of weeks ago. Who are some guys?
I'm glad that you're including me in the we. All of those were your calls, but I did have Byron Pringle last week.
I didn't want to take all the credit for it.
I had Byron Pringle last week, and he actually had a decent outing. So I'm holding steady there, guys. I'm holding steady.
All right. So who do you have this week? You're going to promote from deep on your bench or from free agency into your starting lineup.
I'm going with JaMychal Hasty, running back for the 49ers, was activated off of IR last week. And right away, actually got pretty involved. Didn't see many touches on the ground. Only had 3 carries for 1 rushing yard. Yikes. But what I'm looking at is he had 6 targets in the game. Again, super inefficient, but he was targeted throughout the game. It wasn't just like he saw a bunch of garbage time points at the end of the game to close things out. He was being targeted throughout the game, and he was worked into the game plan consistently. In a full PPR format, I'm willing to take that dive. If we still see Kyle Shanahan unwilling to trade or to do anything with Brandon Ayuk, we got to throw the ball somewhere. And apparently they're throwing to Jermichael Hasty.
It's a good call. I got another running back that it's going to feel gross to start, but what about Boston Scott, Kate? It seems like Miles Sanders is going to be out this week. They're playing the Lions, which should be a positive game script for them. And every time Boston Scott plays, he's good. Like, he's just a good player. I don't think the Eagles want to give Kenny Gainwell a full workload. I think Boston Scott's going to kind of be the starter, and Gainwell will work him. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good game. That's all I'm saying.
I actually I feel that. I do.
Okay. So thank you for expressing confidence. How about another one? Do you want a really gross one? Because that's kind of the what we do here. We give you absolutely awful ones. Are you ready?
Yes, I'll take the gross one.
How about I'm just looking at some of the guys that I have here. Oh man.
Okay, I have a name.
Sanu.
I wasn't going that deep.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, how about Cedric Wilson? All right. So I know like we said we're out on the big Cowboys, but what about the notion? He's played some out of the slot. We've seen him be he's been pretty clutch when they've needed a guy. But when the backup quarterbacks come in, sometimes they'll target some of these guys that maybe they get more reps with, in practice, like the
good point. Good point.
I think he's a guy that we know has a high upside. Maybe we see him get a little something this week.
I like it. It's a good call, especially if Dak plays. If Dak plays, it's pretty clear Cedric Wilson has a role. I don't think Michael Gallup's going to play in this game, so I think Cedric Wilson is a good candidate. I'm dying here, Kate. Would you do the outro for me?
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on today's Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I am Kate Magdziuk. You can follow me on Twitter at FFBallBlast. And as always, please give my co-host a follow at Marcus_Mosher. Give the show a follow at Locked On Dynasty, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. We will see you on Monday to get you ready for week 9. Oh my God, it's flying.
Week 9.
Good luck this week, guys.
Go eat a sausage McGriddle, everybody.
For me.